some of you guys don't know this about me, but when I got married, me and my wife were in a ton of debt. We technically over $100,000 in debt, specifically paid off $45,000 of debt in 18 months. Okay. And it was one of the best things we could have done for our marriage, for our love life, for our future kids, for our family, for our careers. Amazing stuff. And it was hard, but it was worth it, as most things are. That are worth it, they're hard. So we paid off $45,000 of debt in 18 months. We got out of debt at the end of 2012. And it was awesome. It was good. And it was challenging. And I learned a lot. And I would encourage everybody who's in debt to get out of debt as quickly as possible. But I followed the Dave Ramsey program. Now, in hindsight, I have a credit card now. We got a mortgage that we didn't put 20% on. I don't follow everything he teaches now to the T, but I think the principles are amazing. And so he was asked this question about $1,000 emergency fund, which is baby step number one. And I wanted to kind of react to it, unpack it, because I think there's some good stuff, some good principles here with regards to this, okay? And I think this is something that a lot of folks are struggling with. And unfortunately, a lot of folks are struggling with, and it is the bottleneck on you taking any sort of risk, whether it's you going into business for yourself, whether it's you switching and pivoting careers, whether it's you going into ministry, whether it's you, right? Whatever it is, a lot of times the bottleneck on your life is your finances, is either not earning enough or not managing it well, right? Our debt was across brand new car note because I needed a new reliable car with 0 miles. So I got a car. I had student loan debt. I had credit card debt. I had stuff that went into collections because I got sued. We had all types of debt. And you name it. I co-signed on a condo and the second mortgage went into collections debt. So that is what actually got the amount up to over $100K, but we settled on that debt. And so all kinds of stuff.
So as you're aware, the Total Money Makeover was published in 2003. And I'm sure you're also aware that the first baby step is to save $1,000 starter emergency fund. So my question, since the book has been released for 20 years, and with the current dramatic rise in inflation, do you still feel $1,000 is the correct amount to start to be successful with your plan?
$1,000 was not enough in 2003.
What a great response. Dave Ramsey tells you $1,000 wasn't enough back then. It wasn't enough in 2003. But that's the baby step. Baby step one is get $1,000 emergency fund as quickly as possible. People, that doesn't make sense to them, right? So listen to him unpack this thought.
It was never designed to be enough. It's enough to buy an alternator for a car or a tire, maybe one or two. It's enough to take your kid to the pediatrician if they're sick, but it's not enough to be a real emergency fund. It's enough to keep the little things from kicking your butt off the get out of debt wagon. Because
so it was never intended to be enough. Hey, thank you so much for subscribing to our newest YouTube channel, Mastermind My Business, the channel where you get access to information on how to create, how to grow, and how to learn. But I wanted to show you something kind of crazy. Over 71% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing, turning that bell notification on so you don't miss anything. All right? I appreciate you. It's enough to keep your life from collapsing. I heard some statistics that, that a lot of, I think 50%, 60% of people don't even have enough for a $500 emergency, right? In the bank. Like they're literally living paycheck to paycheck with no savings. Let's look that up. This is crazy. Check this out. In fact, you should really aim to have an emergency fund with enough money to cover 3 to 6 months worth of essential bills. But according to 22 Personal Capital Wealth and Wellness Index, only 53% of Americans are in a position to handle an unforeseen $500 expense without worry. Only 53% of Americans have enough in the bank to handle a $500 expense. Okay, so folks are arguing with Dave Ramsey on if $1,000 a month. 47% of people don't even have $500 in the bank. So what are we talking about? Why are you arguing with the man that's helping millions of people get out of debt? Isn't that interesting? That's a crazy number. 47%, the bottom 47%. Well, I don't know if it's the bottom because there's a lot of people that make a lot of money that don't know how to handle that money. There's people making 6 figures living paycheck to paycheck. That's a fact too. But that 47% don't even have enough for a $500 emergency. And people are upset that Dave Ramsey recommends a $1,000 emergency fund to get started on your debt-free journey. And listen, he reveals something really interesting here. Listen what he says next.
When we first started this stuff years ago, I said, use all your savings, have zero. And that didn't work, honestly. If you had come to Financial Peace University when I was teaching it with an overhead projector, before we had the baby steps, I just was hardcore. Just, it was like you're in boot camp. Shut up, sell everything, use all your money, don't whine, get your butt out of debt. Because if you don't get out of debt, none of this is going to work.
So essentially, he said they didn't even recommend a $1,000 emergency fund when he first started doing Financial Peace University. So he's tweaked the system in his program.
But we discovered pretty quickly that every little thing that came along that wasn't in their little budget the first few months, knock them out, and then they would give up hope. So we decided, okay, we're going to give you just a little bit of a beginner starter emergency fund just to knock the little stuff off. Out of the 10 million people that have been through Financial Peace University, it's 18 months to get out.
That's exactly what it was for us. 18 months. For 18 months, we had a $1,000 emergency fund. In 18 months, we paid off over $45,000 of debt. And after that 18 months, then we saved up and had a 6-month emergency fund. Baby step 3. It's interesting, isn't it? 47% of people don't have a $500 emergency fund, yet people are complaining Dave Ramsey's recommending a $1,000 emergency fund. Now, understanding that the $1,000 emergency fund is not supposed to be there forever. It's only supposed to be there for approximately 18 months.
Debt, not counting your house. Baby step 2. Now, that means some of them do it in 3 months and some of them do it in 30, but the average is 18.
Yep.
So it's designed just to keep the little crap away. But if your car blows up during that 18 months, it's not enough.
Yep.
And it never was designed to be enough. So it doesn't need to be inflation adjusted because it wasn't supposed to be enough. But good question. Thank you, sir.
That's a good answer. Dave Ramsey with the chops, man. I want to hear from you guys. Are you cognitive of any of this stuff? Are you thinking about this stuff in your journey of maybe trying to build your career, build your career? Maybe if you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to pivot, if you're trying to go into ministry, are you thinking about the practical side of if your overhead remains high, it becomes more difficult to be flexible with what you do for work because your overhead is so high. So you might often work jobs or not be able to take risk because you need to make X amount. But if you can reduce your overhead by paying off all your debt and say reduce your overhead by, let's say you need $5,000 a month to survive. Well, if you pay off all your debt and now you only need $3,000 a month to survive, including all your expenses, does that open the door for you to do other things and take other risks that may have a higher ROI down the road? That was the case for me. I was making a certain amount, but I knew that if I went to work for myself, that over the long haul, I would make more than working for someone else, right? Or maybe you go work with someone else that's a smaller startup and you're employee number 2, number 3, number 4. But if that turns into a 7-figure or an 8-figure business, you're going to do way better over the lifespan of that than you just working for a massive company where you're just another number. These are things to be thinking about, right? As we're factoring in these aspects. But is this stuff you're thinking about? That would be my question for you. And I think it's crucial for entrepreneurs and for Christians, especially, to be thinking about these things. And then if you're thinking about these things, then put a plan into place. The Dave Ramsey, the first 3 baby steps, I think are rock solid.
Hey, this is a segment from our daily after party stream. Consider partnering with us online for as little as $5 a month to get access to these daily after party streams completely unedited. You'll also get access to our podcast as they are streamed live into the community before anyone else gets to see them, get to interact with our guests, get access to our private Discord server, and a discount code for our store for as little as $5 a month. Ultimately, that will help towards helping us continue contextualizing the gospel using media and podcast here on YouTube. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.